is they know that you work with this client in the deaf community and they're asking you how they are. Sorry, I didn't word that clearly.
So if the person comes and says about the client, and I put them right and say, the client means it's confidential. I can't tell anything because it's about the client and it's work. So I can't say anything. And my answer would be, they come and say, you know, work with the client. I say, oh. I try and distract them and get them on a different topic myself. That's what I would do. And also, I think 2 weeks ago, I went to Southampton where I used to work in that area. And the person said, oh, it was sport worker. I said, oh, sport worker before. And I just said nothing and I just went. So, yeah, I don't tell them anything. I just go, oh, yeah. I don't say yes or no. I just, oh.
I think if it was a friend of theirs, if it was a friend that they knew, I might say to them, if it's your friend, then, you know, contact them yourselves and ask them yourself. Because we're not confidential.
That's right. I would say in general that what the right answer is to say, I can't say yes or no. You know, it's because I just can't. It's confidential. That's it. Like you were saying, if you want to find out, ask them yourself. I can't myself. And if, for example, if you went out in the community with the client and you bumped into somebody I know, do I introduce? It's tricky. Usually I say, who are they? And I just leave them to introduce themselves. I say, I have to go now and just change the topic and go. You have to work it out. It's very difficult because you have to respect their privacy. And it's saying, possible say that the best approach is beforehand, clarify the boundaries with that client and say, are you happy to share certain information? What do we do in that situation? Because you know the client. And
also I want to raise about in the community, perhaps my client might come and see me in the community and say, oh, I do really need some help on something, but I might be in a social event and not in work time. That happens to me really often. So I might say, oh, maybe not today, but yeah. Yeah, Paul just said, yeah, why don't you just stay at home all the time, Mary Jane? And Bruce, yeah, no, I'm not advocating that you just have no social life. Yeah, just to avoid your clients. No, I don't think so. But yeah, what we were saying about going back to the role that we discussed earlier, that having clear professional boundaries is really important. And sometimes our clients might know our boundaries, so that means that we have to be really consistent and working hard. Maybe on that day we've seen them, it might say, oh yeah, well, why don't you contact Deaf Direct for an appointment, get round it. You don't have to like run away from them, but yeah, it might be important to just treat them with respect. It might be like, oh, I've finished work, stop asking me about work stuff now. That's not an appropriate way to deal with it. Of course, you have to still maintain that relationship with them, but encourage them to bring it up at the right time instead. Yeah, I just have one question to bring into the group as well. What about Facebook and social media? Obviously, the deaf community is very small. Is it appropriate to be friends with people that your clients with on Facebook? So maybe, oh yeah, you've got Facebook and I do, let's be friends. Bruce is saying, I'd have to check the policy on that. You might have not known them in the first place, and then you become friends once they're a client, then maybe that's not appropriate. If you know each other already personally, then maybe that's okay, but I would always recommend talking to your manager about it first. Because it might then be that you might not be the best match for that client if you already know them personally outside. Some people can cope in that situation and maintain their professional boundaries, but some people can't. So if you don't know them and then you become friends with them whilst you're supporting them, I would say an absolute no, because it's not professional.
I think that's something's happened, something like that, school with teachers and being on Facebook and being friends with parents, and it's caused quite a lot of problems.
Yeah, also, yeah. I would say that wasn't very professional myself, but that might be my personal view on the issue. So, but it depends on where you work, I guess.
Quite a few members of staff at Deaf Direct have a Facebook page that is a work page, and we accept friendship requests from anybody because it's a work page. And if we were messaged, we would reply on behalf of the company, but if it was a personal message, we would have to say, no, I'm sorry, I can't come out, or you can ask me a question later to work, but I can't answer a personal message, something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely worth reviewing that, because if they're contacting you all the time, then you need to be managing your own personal time as well. If they're getting work messages all the time on Facebook.
It hasn't actually happened. I'm I'm just saying if someone sent a personal message, because we're meant to be open and accept everybody on behalf of Deaf Direct, if I had a personal message, I would, in fact, I turn the chat off. If I'm on Facebook, my work page, I turn the chat facility off.
So now we're going to talk about case notes. We've already talked a bit about confidentiality. Mary Jane. We're just moving on to the next section now, just to let you know. So case notes. They're really important part of a support worker's role. We've already talked about why it's important to keep records and have confidential information, etc. But what does it look like in reality? So I don't need to do this in a group because of time, but I was wondering if you could give me some examples about what, with the first one or the second one, which do you think is better and why? So what's good? Okay, let me show you the next slide. I'll give you some time to read first. Do you want me to sign it, or are you happy reading?
So we're going to be comparing. Actually, no. I think it's good for what you think of this. So what do you think of this?
It might be when, what's the date, what's the time of this, there's no information about that here.
It says 2 hours. So.
And also, I'm that second part, I'm not sure I could do that, because they have a bad attitude. Why? Well, if the client's being really critical, hang on, do you mean the support worker is feeling, I wouldn't be offloading to them how I feel, certainly not. Anything else? Yeah, you might want to put down the name of the hospital, which hospital you've been to.
Has too much personal opinion and not enough fact. So if the client was in a bad mood, you'd maybe want to record what the trigger was or why they were in a bad mood, so that then you can log a pattern. If you went to the hospital, you would want to know why he's going to the hospital, and might it be related to the fact that he was in a bad mood. So there's not enough fact there to hand over to the next person, and too much personal opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else? I think the support worker saying, "Oh, I went home." It's not very professional. It's very me-centred, isn't it? It's not really important for the records to let them know that you went home at the end of your workday. Yeah. Oh, I'm feeling a bit nervous now because this was supposed to be a good. Next was supposed to be a good example, but feel free to criticise. Okay. Nothing is perfect. Okay. Sorry if that's hard to read. If you want me to sign it, I am happy to. If you need.
That's a really good example, isn't it?
Yeah. If there's anything that you want to criticise about it, then please do. It's just one example.
Drove to the Royal Victoria. What's wrong with public transport, taxi, bus, train? That's only small
Depends on the client.
Who drove? Client or staff? Which?
Yeah, but it could be that the client drove, or it could be that the staff drove. But you're right,
or
yeah.
the client chose to go by staff car because it's easier, or staff chose, or client chose to go by train, but not accessible, or just says drove.
Yeah, maybe a bit of background to why they were driving and who was driving is useful
Well,
as well. Yeah, I think but if there was an accident, the insurance company would need to know that information. So you are right.
That would be part of the care plan anyway. It'd be, they say, like the client's got mobility issues, so it'd be part of that plan anyway. But it just says drove to what? Who drove? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're assuming that we're already knowing the
But-
client's background with that. But yes, you made a very
But
important
that's
point
more detail of what actually happened on the day's support, so it's much clearer.
It would be nice